Well, hello YouTube. I haven't done a video in probably over a week. Um, it's late. This is well, it's not late. It's late for me because I'm tired. I've been working this new promotion, and I've been tired. I just have some questions and statements I'd like to make. This is Leroy Cruz, your Life Applications Officer. Here we go again. And this time I'm doing another pick at my people, black people. Um, I really don't understand, and I'm saying this to both blacks and whites. First of all, if it was in our genes to act a certain way, to talk a certain way, to behave a certain way, if it was a matter of our genes, then when Africans come over here, there wouldn't be a difference between black people and Africans because that's who we are. The only difference between us and Africans is some blacks have been born in America for so many generations, and Africans have lived in America for less generations. Okay? This week, I ran into two very, very nice people. Two very nice young men who are African. And one of them is a student. He's a nurse. He's a nursing student. And the other one is, he's a guard. He's one of the guards that work for me. And they're both very, very nice people. But they're not black. You need to think about that. They're not black. They're African. The real McCoy. African. In my job that I do here in the city of Pittsburgh, the majority of the people that work my job work at our account for UPMC. The majority of the workers are black. Okay? The majority of them are black. I can probably count on one hand how many whites we have working for my, and here I am black, and, I've been given a promotion, and I've been patted on the back, and I've been asked to step up. And, but yet, I don't need to say it, but a lot of the black people that I work with, that I have worked with, we hire so many blacks, and so many blacks get fired. More blacks come. The company either creates a form of tolerance or it fires just as many blacks as it hires. It goes both ways, actually. It goes both ways. I don't understand my people And I'm talking all the way from family issues, all the way going back all the way to high school, um, secondary school, and college, and the many jobs that I've had over the years. I don't understand my people, namely black people. I don't understand. I don't get it. And I was telling another gentleman today, and these white people, they try to be so nice. They try to say, "Oh, young." No, no, no. You mean young and black. Let's be honest. Because the guy I'm speaking to is white and he's younger than me. So you're not talking about young. You're talking about young and black. There is no excuse. Let me ask you. My answer is already made up. Now, I understand that uh, we've come a long way. Is it raining out? I understand we've come a long way over the years. And, I know that after slavery, there was a lot of Jim Crow type of thing going on. A lot of whites did not accept blacks living among them. Okay. And what was dumb about that back in that time was that we didn't come here, and I understand this, blacks. Blacks think that they got to keep saying this over and over again. Common sense. Every race that comes into this country basically knows about slavery. Even, it doesn't matter what race it is. They know that the blacks are one of the only races, if not the only race, that came into this country as slaves. Now, there are other people that have come in here as slaves. That doesn't get talked about. And I've met these slaves. I met these white slaves and Portuguese people and, some other colonies. German refugees. French people. Immigrants. Refugees. Okay? It goes on, and it has gone on. But, of course, everybody knows that ever has stepped foot in this country. Everybody knows all over the world that black folks went through it the most. They went through it more than everybody else. They went through it more time and in worse intense and worse conflict than the others. And there's a lot of people that come here into this country and they automatically decide that, oh, you're black, you can't help yourself because you was a slave. Okay? You can't help yourself because you was a slave. And they allow you to let that be an excuse. You can't help yourself because of what's been done to you. You still upset. Who? I'm not upset. I wasn't here. My mother was barely here. And my grandmother never ever done half the nonsense. She didn't act like them. She didn't dress like them. She did not talk like them. She does not resemble my aunts, my uncles. From their time to their dying bed, their last breath, never act like these black people that I see every day today. They did not act like them. My grandmother complained about white folks, and she complained about, so-called bigotry. Okay, and she felt that she had this mentality that everywhere she goes, it's depressing because black people are going to be last. They're always the tail. They're always going to be last. They're always going to be in the back of the line. And, when I think back, when we go to the recordings, to the tapes, the videos, the recordings, and the writings, the journalism of what happened way back then, way back in the day, okay, we're left to say that, white folks were the worst people on the planet. White folks were the enemy of all. They were the bigots, the racists, the Confederates, the slave masters, the ignorant ones, the evil, the nasty ones, the prejudiced ones, the racists. But that was way back then from where I'm standing. I mean, the day I was born, I'm sure that during the hours and the months that I don't remember of being a baby, I'm sure there were plenty of white folks that held me and kissed me when I was a baby. I'm sure that, and I know from the grapevine that there were white folks that babysitted me when I was a baby, and there was white folks, and I know this because some of this I've lived it out in real time, that took up for me, that watched over me, that protected me when I was a kid. I didn't grow up in the 70s. I was born in 1966. But my years of knowledge about what it's all about was in the 80s. Was in the 80s. And the middle to late 70s. And, those times in my life, when I was a teeny bopper, I call it. I've dealt with, white folks coming in here to Pennsylvania from the South, weaseling their way into the churches, and bringing some of that Southern racist feeling, racist opinion into the churches here in the North. You know, I witnessed that. I witnessed, you know, going to church camp, and there was always one white kid out of 100 that wanted to act like I was a problem. Wanted to make me a problem or make me a hobby, you know, make me a punching bag or something. He had to make an issue about me being black. We couldn't all just get along, as they like to say. He had to make an issue out of it. And there's been one here and one here, but it was never, never, ever in a multitude. It was never, ever all the parents and all their children, all the churches, you know, everybody having some kind of secret white supremacist room where they get together and they, you know, they control us with white supremacy. I've never experienced that. I've experienced 1 out of every 100 white folks that either was trouble for me or was trouble because of me, was in trouble because of me. Let me say that again. Was either trouble to me or in trouble because of me, his attitude towards me. And wherever white folks took up for me, white folks that did not like me were in big trouble. Okay? And I had a lot of white friends coming up. And I've been criticized about this in 2016 and 2015 about having lots of white friends. But back in the day, having lots of white friends was good for me. It protected me. Not only did it protect me, but it took me places where I couldn't otherwise go. It caused me to meet people whom I could not otherwise meet. Having all these white friends at one time in my life taught me things that I couldn't be taught in the black community. I couldn't be taught that in the black community. And it is the upbringing of my life, because when I was a kid coming up in the Homewood section of Pittsburgh, you know, my family loved me dearly, and they still do today. But in my church, they love me dearly, and I'm sure they're still praying for me right now. But I learned from the white people that sheltered me. I've learned from the white people that chose to love me, chose to let me hang out with their children and go places with their children, all expenses paid by them. And I know from experience, from being there, that this same atmosphere has been available to most black people I've ever known. But somewhere in there was some intimidation that did not come from the white community. It came from the black community. Intimidation about white people. And that intimidation kept black folks from being around white folks, from playing with their children and going places with their children and spending the night at their homes like I did. It also caused them not to listen to their teachers in school because most of their teachers were white. White teachers could not be themselves. I had a white teacher named Mr. Howe who used to call us names. Never the N-word, never anything that resembled the color of our skin, but he called us names. He called us names. He put us down. He was like a military officer, like a staff sergeant or something. He humbled everybody, not just the black folks, but the white folks too. But black folks coming in there being more ghettoish, I say. So therefore, they were louder and more misbehaved than the white kids. That did not intimidate Mr. Howe. Mr. Howe put his foot down. He let black folks know where their place was. Okay? Without degrading them as black folks. He was very honest with black folks. He said he didn't care what color you were. He was Mr. Howe. And if you didn't respect Mr. Howe didn't care what color you was. Everybody gets the same treatment if you don't respect Mr. Howe. And a lot of white people that ain't like that today. They are somewhat more intimidated by black folks today than they were back in the days when I was coming up as a kid in middle school. I mean, white folks today are more intimidated by black folks. They're afraid to be honest with black people. And honesty is the best policy. I'm honest with black folks. And I'm going to say this, there is no excuse for the way black people dress, how they wear things, how they act, how they talk. There is no excuse for black on black crime. There's no excuse for, mothers having children out of wedlock and robbing the government of all this free money because they don't know how to keep their legs closed. They don't know how to find a man that's going to be there to support them and his own children. So therefore the government has to pay the bill. And they brag about it and laugh about it. They think it's cute. But there is no excuse for that. There is no excuse for how black people are always angry and ready to fight about something. There is no excuse, like I go to work and every day, white folks don't want to say it, but they know it. It ain't like they don't see it. But every day I'm going to say it because I'm black. I'm allowed to be honest. Every day. Another black man fired. Was he fired because of racism? No, he's fired because he don't like obeying authority. He thinks obeying authority is a slave driving thing. He thinks work is a slave driving thing. I've heard that. And I was like, what they do in Africa? They don't work in Africa? These people that come over here from Africa come over here to work. They come over here to work. They come over here to get the jobs that they can't get in Africa. Don't none of them come over here to listen to hip-hop and let their pants sag off their behind. There's no excuse for that. I don't care what kind of confidence Mr. Swag or whatever his name is, Mr. Swagger or whatever. I don't care. There's nothing confident about your pants sagging off your behind. Nothing confident about it. There is no excuse for the way black people behave. There's no excuse for their work ethics. There's no excuse for kids growing up as thugs and misbehaving in school and graduating from school and becoming thugs, or walking out of school and becoming thugs. They both go on. There's no excuse for, all these children out of wedlock. There's no excuse for it. There's no excuse for a lot of things to go on. Look, there is no excuse for black folks. And that is my rant tonight. I thought about this at work when I ran into, my African friends at work that I've been blessed to know for a small period of time. And, they don't, they come here, they don't even try to fit in with black folks. They don't, what I'm saying? They know my position, between them and their, duties. They know my position, so they respect me as a worker. But let me tell you something, they don't respect me as a black man. They respect me as a worker that's going to do his job to the T. They don't respect me as a black man. I don't respect anybody as a black man. I respect those because they do the job that they're supposed to be doing. And they do it to the T. They respect the boss, whether the boss is white or black, because the boss is the boss. So they respect the boss because the boss is the boss, not because he or she is white or black, but because they're the boss. Black folks seem like they don't understand how America works. America is all about money. And if you're not out to make money, then you need to go find your little free spot and live on your $700 a month check or less and shut up. And go hide yourself somewhere. Go stay in a manor, or go stay in your little government-aided apartment or whatever, and leave the public alone. But when it comes to you having to get on a bus and go to work, don't disrespect your own self by acting a fool, by being out of uniform, by acting like someone owes you something. No, they owe you a paycheck for a job well done. They owe you a paycheck for a job well done. They owe you a paycheck for a job well done. They don't owe you money just to show up. They don't owe you money, okay, to be a smart aleck and to be ignorant and to be out of uniform and to be out of range and they don't owe you money for being hostile. Nobody gets paid for that. They owe you money for honest work, well done, and done properly to the T within a time limit that it was supposed to be done, within the magnitude and quality and time frame it's supposed to be done. And that's it. That's all of it. Nobody owes you anything, black folks, except your freedom to be just like them. Nobody owes you nothing special, black folks, except your freedom to be just like them. Okay? Black folks are trying to find themselves, especially these young boys out here. They're trying to find themselves. I found myself when I was a kid. Okay? I I found myself when I was a kid. I didn't find myself when I heard the N word come out of a white man's mouth. That's not when I found myself. I didn't find myself by having to deal with racist cops or anything that. My experience with racist cops is the cops that were racist. And I'm going to leave it between them two cops that were racist. And I'm going to leave it within that time that them two cops were racist at that place and time. It's not up. I'm not going to leave it at the white race. I'm going to leave it at those two cops that were racist in that time and place, in that time frame and time that they did it in. I work with cops. They're not all racist. But I also see, like I said, there's always that 1 out of 100. That will come at you in the most nastiest way possible until it affects his livelihood, till it affects his paycheck, till it affects his reputation. Then he'll apologize before the black man apologizes. The white man will always apologize first. The white man will always apologize first. But in most cases, but there is no excuse, black people. There's no excuse for the way we behave. There's no excuse for the way we look, what we listen to, both musically and intellectually, what we watch on TV, always, trying to build a culture when we already got one. Yes, the white man took away your African names and gave you white names, I guess. If that's true. The white man took away all your benefits of being an African. If you brought any benefits over here with you in the first place. He made you become an American. And then some genius in the midst of all this said, why don't we sign off? You don't want to give Abraham Lincoln credit for it. So whatever genius said, why don't we get rid of slavery? And I mean, I understand that at that time when slavery was first over with, there was a lot of white folks that did not accept black folks being in their neighborhoods or being, wherever in close proximity to them, breathing their space, invading their space. But today is different. It is different today. You can sit there and say it ain't no different. We're still slaves. And yes, racism still exists, but you ain't no slave. And racism still exists, but racism does not hold you back from whatever it is you're supposed to be achieving. I work in a hospital. I see black doctors, black nurses, black pathologists, black lawyers, not to mention black police, black people everywhere. UPMC hires a lot of black people, in the firm that I'm in that is supporting UPMC. 95% of us are black. Not only in this account in Pittsburgh, but I'm pretty sure anywhere else. Most of us, the blacks outnumber every other race in this dynasty. But yet, we're still waiting on white people to apologize. We're still waiting on white people to get rid of white supremacy, so to speak. We need to tear down statues, and we need to get rid of people like Donald Trump. We need to get rid of the Republican Party. We need to do a lot of things so that racism is down. It'll never be down in the eyes of this generation of black folks. It'll never be down. There's only one thing that you can do, is stop letting there be excuses. There is no excuse, black folks. There is no excuse for black people. And the way they are, there's no excuse for the black community. There's no excuse for Black Lives Matter. There's no excuse for black folks being in prison. And when I say excuse, I mean a white excuse. There's no white excuse for black folks being in prison. There's no white excuse for black folks being out of work. There's no white excuse for black folks being the highest race and highest number of people depending on government benefits. There's no excuse for black folks having babies out of wedlock. There's no excuse for black folks doing black on black crime and killing young teenagers and even kids in the crossfire. There is no excuse for black folks. There is no excuse. And that's what I wanted to share with you tonight. That there is no excuse. Black folks need to stop making excuses. When you decide that you have to catch up, and you do. When you decide that you have to step up, and you do. You have to step up, and you got to catch up. Yesterday, it was white people's move. Okay? And according to where we are today, looking at it behind the scenes as best as I can see, they did step up, and they did step up properly. Now it's your turn, black folks. It's black folks' turn to step up, because there is no excuse why you can't. You can step up and you can catch up. You can step up and you can catch up. Back in the day, you couldn't do that, I admit. But today you can. Today you can. Today you can. So stop making excuses. God bless you. Thank you for watching. I will talk to you soon. I might do a part 2 of this. I don't know. Be looking for it. But I'm an American. And that's all I need to be. There's no excuse for black nonsense. I won't be a part of any of it. So God bless you. Thanks for watching. I will talk to you soon. Good night. And give me a like or dislike. Later.